Now, Rampy did his job partially. He did actually delay quite a lot by the Sunrise bar, but he didn't get any damage or a kill from this position. So ultimately, that's a win for DZ. They get the ball rolling on this attack.
This is what they desperately needed. Just anything to kind of blunt the momentum of SSG, who've looked very comfortable. They've played loose off site. They've been as structured as you come to expect. And there's very little to praise for Dark Zero so far through these 4 rounds. This one, though, shaping up to be the polar opposite. But SSG are moving together, and, well, Hot and Cold decides to greet them with open arms. 2 easy picks for him. That just absolutely decimates SSG's numbers. And they are quite far off the bomb site. Bosco will have to contend on his own while Canadian does the work upstairs. Nobody from Dark Zero has died yet. Just as I say that, down goes Hyper. Bosco with 1, Canadian gets spotted. Great play from him to knock down Mint, and he'll move towards the main lobby, but Eclipse is there waiting. Bosco now in a 1v3. He won it before. Can he do it again? No. Eclipse punishes him. Dark Zero finally managed to get another round on the board. Celebration from their coach, BC, and a do-or-die / must-win round to try and salvage the first half breaks in favor of Dark Zero.
Yeah, SSG retaking together and dying together there on that top floor. Well done to Hot and Cold. Big round from him. Eclipse also sweeping it up in the end. But yeah, you said it yourself, Parker. This is really salvage at this point for DZ. That's why BC is so enthusiastically trying to hype his players up. It's because it's essential that Dark Zero win these last rounds in the first half. Otherwise, second half is going to be quite difficult. There were some interesting little tidbits in that round. Like, for example, we saw one of the SAS operators use their C4 for rotate. I think it was Canadian on mute. And he did that so he could bring the MP5K instead of the shotgun and still do his portion of the soft destruction as SSG, I'm sure, had, practiced. That was a fun little tidbit because that means that Canadian's a little bit more versatile when he's roaming, which is exactly what he did on the mute. And we saw the overall roam was more centered on top, but because DZ did not hit the top floor directly, that wasn't a problem for them in the end. The biggest issue for SSG's defense was really Rampy dying without actually putting up that much of a fight by Sunrise Bar. Yeah, he wasted some time, but not enough, and more importantly, he didn't do any actual physical damage to his opponents before losing control of his assigned position. Would have been cool to see him do a little bit more there, or have somebody from SSG rotate, but there just wasn't a window for that rotation because DZ was so swift.
위험해 보이는데 이거.
So now some small change-ups with how this is going to work out. SSG goes back to the double bar, and this is a structure that we've seen from them on very comfortable operators. Rampy and the Vigil, it's like apple pie in America, Michael. Bosco and Mira, it's like apple pie in America. Fultz on Maestro. Michael, what is it like?
Apple pie in America.
There you go. It just goes hand in hand. So SSG are going to go back to one of their most comfortable and familiar defenses on this double bar site, allowing Fultz to play unmanned inside of kitchen and over by bathroom. And of course, with the Alda, he has punished teams from that position before. Dark Zero's first step is going to be to clear out up top of circle, clear up top of penthouse
지금 하고 있는 건
theater, and then
명확하죠.
take control of hookah. And we'll look at that.
벅을
Mint is already
빠르게
positioned
VAP
up
통해서
above.
이제
Sky's gonna be
물담배를 치고
holding
넣는
on to
건데
the
자칼이
diffuser this time.
물담배를
There's been some
클리어해줬기
juggling
때문에
from Dark Zero as to who gets it. But a nitro cell from Bosco
이거 어디서 날린
tossed
거야?
up, and Mint disappears. Was that through the floor? It sure seems like it, but
It
블루바
was right there.
블루바 사벽을
very,
통해서
very
넘겼구나.
beautifully tossed.
오.
And not expecting it at
진짜
all
섹시하다
is Mint.
싶네요.
That is a giga brain play. And with that, your
그러면은
smokes
벅을
are
일단
gone,
뭐
and
사벽에
Mint
넣긴
will
했으니까
finish the
이거는 뭐
first
첫
half
번째
with but a
목표는
single
공격
kill.
입장에서
It
성공을
also
했죠.
gives SSG the opening pick, and right now the team that gets the opening
이제
pick
중간
has a
뭔가 서브
100%
퀘스트라고 해야
value.
될까요? 이제
It's
서브
really great.
퀘스트는
So
버티컬하고 있는
SSG must be
벅이
feeling
잘리지
pretty
않는
good
거,
about
위로
that.
올라오는 거에 잘리지 않는
Yeah,
게 이제
those
서브
little
목표인데
cheeky kills are what
사실
can
서브
sometimes win you
목표라기보다는 메인 목표라고
matches.
보는 게 맞겠네요. 죽으면
Nice
게임을
setup
못 이기기
from
때문에
SSG and DZ just not seeing that hole in the
15개
floor.
이도를 다 했고
Unfortunate for them.
버티컬은 다 되겠네요.
Now they will be able to get
밀어버리고.
that top floor control though. Dark Zero is going to be opening above these anchors, forcing them into less comfortable positions.
이러면는 이제
But
블루바
the
설치가
last
아니라
time we
레드바
were
설치가
here,
되죠.
what
그러니까
was it
사무실도
that
편하게 있을 수
destroyed
있어요.
DZ's attack in the end? It was the time. There just wasn't enough of it.
그
Dark Zero
다음에
rushed
처리해야
in
될
inside the 20
거는
seconds, and they
관측
couldn't
도구,
get all the
마이캠
kills
두 개와
that were
방탄캠
necessary to
하나를
win.
제거하고
So that is what
설치각을
DZ needs
보는
to change in
건데
these last 40 seconds.
Very strong position from Eclipse above. He'll be
방탄캠을
able to hold off
제거했고
most of the routes that
악에는
SSG will
제거는
need
아직
to
안 된 것
retake,
같죠?
providing that DZ is able to go for a
유탄이
plant.
두 개가 있는
And
걸
if Eclipse gets
보면
found out, then this gets very bad for Dark Zero.
역시
Skies is down to a
디퓨저인데
tiny bit of HP as
이
Randy
설치?
falls to Hyper, and now
네,
there goes
부상.
the plant. But there goes Skies as well. He's dropped by the
마이캠
Maestro
안
Cam
꼈기
of all
때문에
things.
이렇게 되는
Eclipse will have to
거죠.
abandon his position from above, and DZ's control is slowly
아,
loosening.
망했죠, 이러면?
Canadian finds another, so Dark Zero will have even harder odds to make this
해서 또
happen.
줄이자.
And it becomes simply a 3v1 reverse
이 정도?
from the last defense on double bar, but this time it's DZ who are trailing in numbers. Eclipse will have to wander down cool vibes, and they're only bad vibes for him and for Dark Zero as Space Station takes the first half 4-2.
Dark Zero, when we said salvage the first half, we didn't mean make sure you at least get 2 rounds. We were hoping for that 3-3, and this is just really good for Space Station. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They are in the driver's seat now for Coastline. This is a drastic position for Dark Zero to find themselves in. And again, this is going to call into question these next maps that we have lined up on Cafe, and if we get to it, Villa. So really well done to Space Station taking those 4 rounds. Again, as stated earlier, you can sometimes win rounds off of just cheeky C4s like the one we just saw from Space Station early in that one. And they did. So the 100% win rate for the team that gets the early frag will continue. Now Dark Zero has
말씀드린대요. 순서가 굉장히 중요했어요. 벅을 일단 물담배를 넣는 일차적인 목표 성공. 그래서 버티컬 했죠. 그리고 서브라기보다는 뭐 메인의 일종인데 올라오지 못하게 노마드 기압탄 설치하고 올라오는 거 완전히 보호해줬어요. 그래서 거기 버티컬 굉장히 편하게 했죠. 10% 하나도 안 맞았고 2개 다 안 맞았고. 그 다음에 이제 레드바트로 설치하는데 설치하기 전에 한 가지 해야 될 게 더 있었죠. 관측도구 제거. 방탄캔과 악앤을 모두 제거하는 건데 악앤을 제거하지 않아서 결국엔 사고가 났고 하나라도 하지 못하고 그 다음 걸 실행하려 하면 무조건 사고가 나요. 사고 안 날 수가 없습니다. 무조건 사고가 나기 때문에 모든 거를 완벽하게 처리하고 들어가야 되거든요. 요즘 공격 메타는 어쩔 수 없어요. 그렇게 해야 돼요. 그 주어진 그 임무를 얼마만큼 빠르고 정확하게 하느냐가 이제 관건이기 때문에 대회에서 팀끼리 싸우기도 하냐고 아예 그럴 리가 없죠. 오히려 못하면 못할수록 격려하고 그러죠.
There's no idioms to mash. There's no banter to be had. And well, would you look at that? DZ is a similar lobby presence.
칭찬은 고래도 춤추게 하는데 대회에서 싸우면 일단 스페이스테이션은 라이언을 쓰는 전략을 가져왔어요. 라이언이 괜히 안 되더라도 라이언을 쓸지 말지 이제 뭐 팀마다 좀 의견 생각이 좀 다른데 SSG는 라이언이 풀리면 쓴다라는 생각이 있네요. 뭐 FMG 1.5배율 이거 1.5배율이면 방패 혹시 들고 아쿠아 버티기 아닌가? 아쿠아 해치 강화하고 그거 같은데
The setup could still be done as practice. I think that's fine. There's nothing
그런 거 같아요. 네. 그리고 SSG는 물담배 푸시 아쿠아를 홀딩하는 걸 보니까 아쿠아 홀딩하는 것도 좀 힘 강하게 사무실 들어가면 밀려면 밀 수는 있는데 인원 손실이 많이 날 것 같으니까 물담배 미는 걸 선택을 했네요. 이게 또 원웨이 푸시가 되기 때문에 약간의 리스크는 좀 있거든요. 지금 이 화질 깨지는 거는 제 문제가 아니라 티치 문제입니다. 오, 발이 보였는데 발을 쏘지는 않았어요. 물담배는 일단 비워놨고 레드바도 공격팀이 컨트롤하고 있기 때문에 일단 바닥 10호 같은 거는 통하지 않고 하지만 진짜 레드바와 물담배 말고는 아무데도 없거든요. 아무데도 없어서 레펠 플레이 이런 것도 없고 큰창 레펠도 없고 큰창 레펠이라도 있어야 될 것 같은데 각이 너무 편하죠. 수비팀 지금
of the actual hookah position. Dark Zero
라이언
are,
치고
you know,
어그로
in
끌고
base, as is typical.
라이언 키고
By the bar, as is typical. And they're
눕는
going to
거
be trying
확인
to
없고
deny from there.
하지만
Nice
10번
C4
가스탄
there,
바로
push
날라오고
Rampy back, but not actually
벅은
get the
죽으면
kill,
안 돼요.
rendering him down to 25 HP. And he
그렇죠.
will
벅은
take Hyper,
뒤만
who's
봐줘야
trying
되고
to
이러면은
fight for
공격팀 혼자
False walls to get
조급해서
skies, meaning DZ now is
수비팀 혼자
down
조급해서
2
이렇게
members.
피킹을 할 수밖에
Sunset
없거든요.
blinded
그렇죠.
Eclipse, and he will try to persist. The nade goes
잡혔고
in and finishes him
와
off. Now
SSG
it's all on
진짜
hot and cold and mint. And with 30 seconds left, Space Station are in
움직임 완성도가
no rush whatsoever. Hot and cold with
솔직히
the SMG out.
안 보이는
Here's the
각도
plant by the
설치.
door. Nice shot onto cool vibes, but there's a backup player.
와,
And the man
백업까지
advantage wins
진짜
out for
SSG
SSG.
완성도가
It will take the first attack of the
어떻게
second
보면
half.
무리수라고도 좀 보일 만한 플레이였는데 이렇게 너무 완벽하게 하니까 무리수가 아니라 정말 전공법이 돼버렸죠. 와, SSG. 방금 물담배와 선라이즈 미는 거는 이거는 어떻게 보면은 그 전 세계에 있는 이 대회를 보고 있는 많은 팀들에게 약간의 귀감이 될 수도 있지 않을까라는 생각이 드는 게 진짜 다른 것 한 군데도 안 밀었어요. 아쿠아를 가기로 했어요. 흥창을 열기로 했어요. VARMILO 가기로 했어요. 아무데도 안 갔어요. 그냥 물담배 외부 발코니와 선라이즈 막 계단 올라가는 거밖에 안 했어요. 진짜 여러분 이건 랭크에서도 물담배 공격할 때 저렇게 가요? 계단 올라가서 게임 터뜨릴 수 있어요? 안 돼요. 절대 불가능했는데 얘는 또 왜 펜타우스에? 그럼 말을 이어서 하자면 정말 어려운 전략을 너무나도 손쉽게 해내서 놀랐어요. 정말 어려운 전략이거든요. 와, 정말 대단합니다, SSG. 근데 제 말문을 막기 전에 다크젤의 펜타우스. 펜타우스 나올 수는 있거든요. 나올 수는 있는데 뭐라 해야 되냐. 갑자기 나왔어요. 너무 갑자기 나왔어요. 나올 수는 있는데 좀 뭔가 뭐 물담배 맞고 주방 맞고 버프박 갈까 말까 선택의 기로에서 나오는 게 아니라 갑자기 물담배 막는 거 실패하고 모든 사이트 선택할 수 있을 때 텐트를 가서
which DZ is going to do. We saw the roaming duo that DZ had over by Penthouse and Theater, and it's unlikely that those are going to be assisted by mute jammers, which is the greatest tool that you as a defender have to not get scanned by Lion's
일단
gadget.
10호는 두 개 멜로시가 충격 수류탄을 들었기 때문에 그냥 충돌을 들 필요는 없었을 것 같아요. 에이스가 벤이기 때문에 뭐 충돌작 할 것도 없고 그냥 10호 들면 어땠을까 하는 생각이 드는데 일단 뭐
that would be very much at home 2 years ago.
진짜 클래식한 전략이에요. 진짜 세상에서 그 펜트하우스 수비를 할 때 미라를 쓰는 전략 중에 완전 클래식한 전략이었는데 진짜 엄청 오래된 전략인데 이건 헤어져 나왔을 때 쓰던 전략이에요. 근데 가져왔습니다. 다크제로 진짜 뭐 바뀐 거 하나도 없어요. 와마이가 있는 것도 아니고 와마이 벤이죠. 뭐 있는 것도 아니고 지금 싹 다 열어놓고 오기라도 해봐 바로 잡을 거야 라는 생각. SSG는 펄츠가 엔트리입니다. 메인 엔트리.
Now this could have happened even if DZ were in the lead going into the second half, but right now it is really important that DZ pick up a round or two here or there to put them in contention.
1원핑 이거 지금 물담배 좀 슬래치 있지 않나? 보스코?
Hyper is being hunted.
램피 불러야죠. 램피가 위에서 버티컬 해서 E1D 터지니까 그냥 이제 옛날 라이언이 아니기 때문에 와 이거는 어떻게 보면은 유효한 것 같죠. 하이퍼가 일부러 E1D 드론에 걸려서 민트가 키를 먹었죠. 그것도 잡은 게 버기예요. 지금 현재 SSG에 좀 뭔가 유동적인 플레이를 할 수 있는 오퍼레이터가 잡혔습니다. ADS 뭔가 체크하고 파스타드로 미라골 파괴. 미라골 깨자마자 바로 연마? 10호 안 죽었어요. 잠시만요. 안 죽었어요.
They've got smokes, they've got grenades, they're gonna toss it all out. Sky's drop, but Canadian with the plume of smoke will be finished off by Hot and Cold. Good throw from DZ. Bosco now tagged in to try and get that diffuser down. Just him thinking nade and he'll have to fall off as it's DZ with an iron grip on this defense. SSG fires back. Cold turns his back to the mirror window with only 15 seconds left. His position is known.
이거 E1D 끝날 때쯤
3-3 from above. Bosco punishing Mint, and now he'll need to go for the plant as it's thinking nade and SSG have so much
근데
control.
서울 막혔어요. VIP 있었어요.
DZ's last hope.
이거는 벤시도 있고.
Thinking nade stopped by the Malusi. He'll fire away, and they'll both just fire their guns for no reason. They can't get each other so close for Space Station, but the trend line holds. DZ wins the round, and again, The team that gets the opening
와,
pick goes on to win it all.
질 뻔했어 방금.
What an excellent try there from Bosco. I almost thought he would have it in the end, but well timed from the Jaeger. The flank in the nick of time. Hyper, I believe it was, who ended up shutting down that plant.
하지만 방금 장면, 방금 공격에서는 약간 원웨이 푸시에 어떻게 보면 단점이 드러나 버렸죠. VIP 창문이 열려있던 것도 아니고 명예전당 문이 열려있던 것도 아니라서 예고가 VIP를 굉장히 너무나도 편하게 있었죠. 그러니까 아까 전 사무실에서 이원디 드론에 걸리고 멜로시의 백업을 받으면서 로비계단 올라와서 나 VIP 들어가 있을게 라고 했는데 뭐야 VIP 아무것도 없네? 너무나도 편한데? 라고 아마 생각이 들었을 거예요. 그래서 아무래도 SSG 같은 경우에는 큰 창 원툴이었기 때문에 문이라도 뜯고 창문이라도 뜯어놨다면 예고가 거기를 버티는 건 뭐 생각도 못했을 것 같긴 한데 약간의 이제는 물담배 공격을 했던 그 방법 그대로 했을 때 리스크가 펜타우스는 좀 돌아온 느낌이 없지 않아 있고요.
I especially like also before I forget to actually mention this, the roam combo was beautiful.
만약에 그 아까 전에 그 설치 전략 있잖아요. 거기에 잉이 있었으면은 무조건 됐을 것 같긴 해요. 근데 다크제로가 잉을 밴을 했잖아요. 저것도 좀 확실히 요새 잉이 진짜 좀 강력하다라고 느낄만한 대목 중 하나인 것 같아요.
And I mean, I do think it also somewhat extends. Boy, I do think it also somewhat extends to space station.
이거 라이온이라서 잡히면은 진짜 게임 개박살 났거든요. 진짜 산계당해. 이거 만약에 커만도였으면 죽었을 것 같은데 론이라서 한 것 같아요. 와, 이게 박살날 뻔했습니다.
He dies early, not able to do his job, not able to put his gadget to good use, didn't waste as much time as he wanted. What ends up happening with when he's on Buck last round? Same thing. Not really able to put his gadget to good use.
이번에는 물담배 푸시가 아니라 펜트하우스부터 밀고 들어가는 전략에 전략 조정했죠. SSG.
Both times, it's not just that you lost the opening pick. That is
컴펜세이터를 쓸고 있는 민태 비질.
But it's also that you lose a very good player in Rampy who is perfectly capable of dominating a game. What a play by Hyper that was. Once again, that bait and switch goes on to
여러분 지금 게임이 얼마나 수준 높은지 볼 수 있는 거거든요. 드론에 오퍼레이터 하나가 딱 발각이 됐잖아요. 발각이 됐을 때 그 오퍼레이터를 잡으려는 사람과 그 걸린 오퍼레이터를 백업하려는 사람과 그 백업하려는 걸 잠그려는 사람 그 여러 개가 맞물려서 킬이 동시에 2킬 이상 나오거든요. 지금 얼마나 수준 높은 경기인지 볼 수 있는 대목이에요. 지금 이원 한번 올리니까 2킬 나오잖아요. 그죠? 애쉬 죽고 모지 죽잖아요. 진짜 수준 높은 게임이라고 봅니다. 어느 정도 이제 마무리가 되고 비질이 살아있는 게 약간의 변수이긴 하지만 비질은 여러분도 아시다시피 10호 오퍼레이터가 아니죠. 충격 수류탄을 들 수 있는 오퍼레이터이기 때문에 엄청 큰 변수가 되진 않아요. 그래서 아마 좀 무시하고 진행을 하지 않을까 싶은데 무시하고 진행할 거면은 큰 창 열어야죠. 큰 창 열고 아쿠아 가고 물담배 문 뜯고 다 뜯어야죠. 라인은 어떻게 쓰는 게 효율적이냐면 방금같이 위치 발각하고 나서 그러니까 상대 로머를 파악하고 나서 키는 게 가장 효율적이에요.
Now that's a dangerous proposition because the smokes can be pretty good for both teams when placed incorrectly and drastic even when drastically bad actually for the attack if used even worse.
버기 여기 있는 것도 좀 좋은 것 같아요. 사벽을 스모크로 밀어내고 이거 설각 돌려는 것 같죠.
God, I love how just how much DZ are being
연막으로
rats right now.
블랙돌 가리고 이거 써
논리폭탄으로
아 근데 뭐 만들고 수류탄으로 스모크 잡고 3초 큰창 대신에 큰창 들어왔어요.
Going for the attackers as they are left downstairs desperately in space station have no hope in hell of winning this as the clock hits 0.
제가 아까 전에 뭐라고 말씀드렸어요. 푸시를 할 때 순서가 정해져 있다고. 아까 전에 뭐 더블바 수비를 예로 들어보자면 벅을 물담배에 넣어서 버티걸 해요. 그리고 물담배를 밀어냈어요. 그렇죠? 아니 그 레드바를 밀어냈어요. 그 다음 설치각을 보려면 뭘 해야 돼요? 관측도구를 깨야 돼요. 악의는 깨고 방탄카메라 깨고 관측도구를 깨야 하는데 관측 도구를 안 깨서 연막을 뚫어서 죽은 사람이 있었죠. 아까 모찌가 죽었잖아요. 아게눈이 계속해서 레드핑 찍어주니까 거기로 긁는 거예요. 마이가 80발짜리 총 들고 빨간핑 찍히는 걸 긁는다고 생각해봐요. 그럼 살아남은 오퍼레이터가 없어요. 다 죽어요 무조건. 이해하셨죠? 순서는 괜히 정해져 있는 게 아니에요. 순서는 무조건 이행을 다 해야 돼요. 무시하면은 항상 게임을 집니다. 이거는 진짜 어떻게 보면 공식으로 지정해놔도 돼요. 그 공식을 무시하고 게임 이겼다. 그러면은 이거는 공격이 잘해서 이긴 게 무조건 수비가 실수해서 이긴 거예요. 지금 아게눈 안 깨서 진 라운드만 2라운드거든요. SSG. 약간의 그 설계를 하는 데 있어서 약간 좀 간과하는 부분이 되게 큰 부분입니다. 간과하는 부분이.
And there was, I think, let's say 30, 40 seconds where SSG was just running around in circles on the east side of the building. And again, I don't know what exactly they were waiting for. I'm gonna guess it was Rampy to get below.
주방의 특징이죠. 사백 강화를 하지 않고 사이트 강화는 최소한으로 하면서 모든 강화를 이제 2층과 레드바 뭐 이런 쪽으로 투자를 하는 주방이라는 사이트 특수성입니다. 사이트 내부에 있기보다는 좀 굉장히 좀 넓게 쓰는 전략. 도깨비 쿨링은 마이킹 카운터 힘들어요. 죽은 사람이 보고 있는 거는 카운터가 안 돼요.
We only have 3 attacking round victories so far through the 9 rounds of active play.
Good point.
드론 먼저 깨고 빠지는 거 굉장히 좋죠.
One thing I do want to note, by the way, is that over the last 3
하지만
matches
여분의 드론이 바로 배치되어 있는데 또 바로 깨졌고요. 이거 SSG 좀 꼬였죠? 야나가 아니고 이제 히바나기 때문에 캐네디언이.
Teams have been 7-3, 7-5, 7-5, 7-4, 7-3, 7-3, 7-5.
Oh boy.
So they usually go pretty close to the distance.
펄치 이거 지금 이거 데미지 받는 게 뭐냐면 그 드론을 굴려준 캐네디언의 드론이 모두 아까 전에 이전에 의해서 모두 잘렸.
So I expect all 3 of these maps, if we need them all, or maybe even 2 to go.
화면이 멈췄네요.
I think it is fascinating that with how much these two teams have played each other since July. That was the very first match they played, middle of July.
그래서 애쉬가 본인이 갈 거 직접 드로닝 굴려서 그 빈틈이 나왔기 때문에 지금 맞고 시작하는 거거든요. 이거 민트의 리전이 드론 2개를 자르는 게 굉장히 뭐 사소해 보이지만 이런 거면 되게 큰 겁니다. 애쉬에 진 적이 없죠.
It's the first kitchen defense for Dark Zero. They are prepped and ready for the play upstairs. You saw Nitro Cell in hand. I don't know if Skies could have been noticed in his spot right there, but Thinking Nate has been down by that explosive tossed up. He'll need to be retrieved at some point as DZ
랩이 들어오는데 성공했는데 라이언이
They don't
부상이에요.
like their positioning down below, and a Nitro Cell from Hot and Cold is ready for SSG.
He's waiting for the buck to start opening from above, and he'll use his C4.
라이언 죽으면은 말씀드렸죠. 게임 박살납니다. 절대 죽으면 안 돼요.
He's still got it in the pocket.
사실 쿵쿵쿵쿵 소리 나죠.
Set of Habana
스모크 잡혔어요.
used on the drop there. Fultz will get Skies. So there's the early
주방창이
kill.
열려있지
And
않기
if
때문에
that
한번
early
공격적으로
kill
자리를
results in
잡아봤는데
round
아쿠아
win
복도에 있던
wins
애쉬한테
out here,
잡혔고요.
then this might be match point. The C4 could change the round outcome
미리
though.
붙여놨는데 이거 아마 열린 바닥으로 소리가 나지 않을까 싶은데 와 옆바티가 미리 앵글을 뺏어놨기 때문에 잡았고 이러면은 굳이 10%를 던질 필요가 없죠.
To that early frag, and Rampy is a great operator to get out of play.
리전 총알이
considering
없네요.
the top
9발 남았네
control
리전.
is big for SSG. Now this is huge too. Look at the time. Hot and Cold will eat some damage, but there's not very much time for SSG to actually get the execute.
맞지 않았고 이거 엘파로로 쐈으면 잡혔을 것 같긴 한데.
He's still in play. And he's got enough HP to
그렇죠.
win a
이건
gunfight.
닉현대 모찌 위치가 너무 좀 예측하기 어려운 자리긴 했는데 상격으로 들어왔고요. 지금.
He'll take him down. He goes actually back out of the site, but nice trade from
그치,
Hyper regardless. Canadian planting by Surf's entrance. Eclipse will get the main lobby control eliminated, but nobody knows there's a plant going down. He should have peeked. Mint will get it in the end though, and Eclipse. Hyper, Mint, Dark Zero winning the round.
이거 애쉬가 300 밖으로 안 나갔으면
We go
이겼다.
to an even round count.
Goodness, what a comeback from Dark Zero. That
애쉬가 300 밖으로 안 나가고 안에 있었으면 무조건 이겼다. 이거 괜히 킬 먹으려고 욕심냈다가 킬하기보다는 브리핑 듣고 그거 잡으려고 욕심냈다가 잡힌 건데.
And he pushes into the main lobby. Well, he pushes into the main lobby. He gets gunned down. I don't think people realize, but Mint was out of ammunition in the T5. He only had the pistol available to him. And well, he makes it work. The plant goes down.
퍼즐을 요청했나 보네. 와, 이거 로컬로 하는 건가 보다.
There quickly enough. Eclipse being in the main lobby.
로컬로 하나 봐요, 메이저.
Things worked out very well in favor of DZ, and they ended up getting that retake because of the fact that they had two people playing off the bomb site. They had one playing down by Blue Bar, they had one playing inside of the main lobby, and when the call was made and Hot and Cold dies inside of service,
여기가 열려 있었어요. 여기가 열려 있었는데 만약에 애쉬가 이렇게 보고 있다거나 아니면은 뭐 화장실에서 여기랑 여기 이렇게 강화돼 있었잖아요. 여기 펀치가 나가지고 이렇게 문을 봐준다거나, 그러니까 여기 한 명이 문을 봐주고 한 명은 위에서 버티컬로 여기 로테이션을 봐줬으면은 거의 좀 뭐라 해야 되지, 완벽한 각이었을 것 같아요. 근데 굳이 애쉬가 여기를 밖으로 나가서 이 왼쪽 주방 복도를 멜로시를 잡으려고 하다가 여기 시큐리티에 있던 예거한테 죽거든요. 그래서 이쪽 주간 출입구 앵글이 완전 비워지게 되고, 히바나는 설치하라는 콜을 듣고 와서 설치하러 했는데 이미 뭐 커버도 안 되고 있고 본인 빼고 남은 오퍼레이터 다 죽어가고 있고, 그러니까 애쉬가 살아있었으면 다른 오퍼레이터가 무리를 할 필요가 없었어요. 애쉬가 무리를 하는 바람에 이건 어떻게 보면 펄츠의 실수라고 보는 게 맞을 것 같아요. 굳이 피킹할 필요 없었거든요. 오는 것만 잡아야 되거든. 뭐 이렇게 보든 이렇게 보든. 보는 게 불편하면 뭐 이렇게 봐도 이렇게 봐도.
So,
글라즈.
in a bid to change all that,
그 북미 아니죠. 브라질 메이저, 남미 메이저 경기에서는 글라즈가 해안선에서 밴이 됐었어요. 팀원이 밴을 할 정도로 굉장히 좀 글라즈라는 오퍼레이터가 현재 굉장히 강력한 오퍼레이터라고 평가를 받고 있거든요. 밴이 안 됐고 인과 같이 쓰이진 않고 야나가 연막탄을 들어줘서 연막탄 4개를 보충해줬습니다.
I don't know exactly where
얘가
they're
여기서
gonna
캠 보고
want
있는 거
to use the
스포키라고
glass
했다는
setup,
거죠.
maybe by mud. But
또
wherever they
VP
end up using
VP
it,
잡겠다는 거.
his performance there will be, I think, of note.
근데 일단 무리하지
Also of
않네요.
note, I believe we do have, like, yeah, now the buffed glass is live, so that came out with the last update I want to say. So he basically, like, the little movement detectors on the side of his scope kind of don't matter anymore. You can move a lot. I mean, they do matter, but they don't at the same time.
무조건 드론에 걸렸죠?
They matter almost not. Yeah, they don't really. Mint's going for an aggro play, and he'll get nothing for it. Thinking Nate shuts him down with a nice, well-timed headshot.
이거는 대박 아니면 쪽박 각이었는데 쪽박을 찾고 일단 기분 좋게 시작합니다. 이게 근데 이것도 좀 뭔가 불합리한 거. 이게 되게 불합리하다라고 느끼는 부분이 뭐냐면, 만약에 저기서 예거가 죽어도 수비는 할만하거든. 왜냐면 예거는 ADS를 깔고 죽었잖아. 근데 히바나가 죽으면은 공격 입장에서 진짜 이상하다. 진짜 힘들어진다. 지금 예를 들면 슬래지가 죽었잖아요. 슬래지 죽은 게 진짜 공격 입장에서 굉장히 짜증날 거예요. 진짜 이게 공수가 너무 좀 뭐라 해야 되지? 되게 불합리한 것 같아. 오퍼레이터 잘리고 안 잘리고 그 심한 게 엄청 50대 50으로 똑같지는 않더라도 약간 좀 비슷하게라도 해주면 좋을 것 같은데 비슷하지도 않은 수준이라. 멜로시 죽는 거 의미 있나요? 아무런 의미 없어요. 방탄 이거 왠지 닦아놓고 19도 세기 때문에 진짜 트레이드라는 개념이 아닌 것 같아요. 지금 슬래지 죽었기 때문에 버티컬이 안 돼요. 물담에 버티컬이 안 돼서 아마 로비 밀어내고 블루바 설치하려는 것 같아요. 지금 선택권이 없어요. SSG는. 왜냐면 슬래지가 죽었기 때문에. 근데 다크제로는 뭐 예를 들면 예거가 죽었기 때문에 무조건 여기를 막아야 돼 그런 게 있나요? 없어요. 본인들이 그냥 원하는 플레이할 수 있고 미라골 여전히 번듯하게 살아있고, 근접 공격으로 바리를 깨는 이유는 글라즈 인도를 걸리기 싫어서 그런 거죠. 그냥 레드박 힘으로 밀어내요? 못하죠? 버티컬 안 되는데 어떻게 미나요? 안 돼요. 절대 안 됩니다. 아니 애초에 지금 이 카운터 뒤를 자리를 잡으면 안 돼요. 수비 팀원이.
Nice shot there for Canadian, eliminating Eclipse on a long angle. The attackers get the control they want, but they need to also plant. And in the dying seconds, it doesn't seem likely. But it's a 1v1. Skies versus Canadian. It's going to be close here, and Skies will win it on time. This is the third or fourth time we've seen a situation like that in this match.
절대로 공격 이길 수 없는 라운드예요.
Take the
절대로.
lead. And push us now.
지금 현재 공수의 어떻게 보면 그 교환 비를 말해주는 대목인 것 같아요. 공격은 슬래지 하나 죽었고 수비는 빚을 내고 잡아서 4대 3이었는데도 못 이긴다고 말씀드리는 것 자체가 이쪽으로 왔을 때 못 이긴다고 말씀드린다는 것 자체가 진짜 교환 비율 자체가 말이 안 되죠. 그러니까 물론 램피가 지금 빌라즈를 잠깐 깜짝 팩으로 꺼냈는데 벅을 계속해서 가져왔으면 달랐을 것 같긴 해요. 물론 그건 뭐 결과론적인 이유. 슬래지 하나 잡혔다고 게임 이렇게 된 게 참 웃기죠. 뭐든 글라즈 식스백으로 한번 보여줬기 때문에 의식하고 있는 거죠. 뮤트로 그냥 뭐든 좀 오바인 것 같다라고 생각을 하는 것 같네요. 뮤트의 고른 판단 굉장히 좋죠. SSG가 현재 지금 히바나를 마지막에 보여줬고 가져오고 있기 때문에 사벽을 열릴 수도 있거든요. 이렇게 뮤트 제만 사벽에 설치하죠. 그렇죠. 하이퍼 선수. 히바나를 눈으로 봤기 때문에 뮤트로 식스팩으로 대처하는 거 굉장히 훌륭합니다.
It's not even just Skies that could play off of that. I would hazard a guess that half of the lobby could have been able to do what Skies did from that position. But still, you as a team have to feel comfortable when somebody of the caliber of Skies is in that spot. And he's had a very quiet game so far. We are back to peak major performance from Hot.
저 마이캠 자리 굉장히 좋다.
When it comes to big games, and I would argue that Hot and Cold has been the best player in the lobby. Highly impactful kills, oftentimes on operators that aren't given the spotlight. He's holding up his end of the bargain.
저 방탄캠 자리 진짜 좋은 것 같아요.
We'll go to Hookah for their very final defense here in regulation. If overtime is required, DZ will defend twice.
물담배 기준 왼쪽 로테에 있으면 큰 층에서 안 보이나요? 보입니다.
Something that we didn't. It turns out that the attackers are not in a favorable position on this map, especially in this matchup. So DZ defending twice on OT would be a huge benefit to them.
Or so it seems, based on what we've got thus far. The only negative I have to say about DZ on this comeback right now is it seems like Mint has probably not had the perfect match overall. I saw a few moments of shakiness from him earlier in this map. We're going to need to see him reset for map number 2 when we get to that.
다크제로는 지난 미국 메이저 압도적인 경기력 차이로 SSG, TSM 다 그냥 뚜까 패고 우승을 차지했거든요. 근데 또 이번에는 SSG와 이렇게 치고받고 하는 거 보니까 SSG도 준비를 많이 한 거 같네요. 그때 당시 다크제로는 진짜 그냥 언터처블이었어요. 미국에 있는 어느 팀도 감히 그냥 얼굴 쳐다보는 것조차 안 될 정도로 굉장히 좀 강력한 면모를 보였었는데 이번에는 좀 다르다라는 걸 보여주고 있고 애쉬 파수탄 ADS 하나 먹혔네요. 성광 지금 커지는데 ADS 위치가 굉장히 좀 독특하게 있는 것 같아요. 이 마이캠은 바닥에서 까는 게 가장 베스트일 것 같긴 한데 마이캠 위치 굉장히 좋긴 하죠. 근데 EMP로 EMP로 깼어요. 사벽 뮤트 제머 EMP로 비활성화 시키고 사벽 하나 붙였어요. 바닥 버티컬도 들어가고요. 이러면은 숨 막히는 거는 스모크죠. 스모크 구했으면 수류탄 맞아 죽을 수도 있을 것 같은데 위치까지 걸렸고 수류탄 조심해요. 수류탄 실패? 슬래지 수류탄 실패? 가스탄 하나, 마지막 가스탄. 잘 잡혔고 마이캠이 깨져 있거든요. 마이캠 깨져서 들어오는 거 몰라요. 이래서 마이캠을 깨라고 말씀을 드리는 건데 결국 먹혔고요. 마지막 아쿠아복도 위치 계속 찍히지만 뮤트도 위치가 걸렸기 때문에 혹시 들어가면
Dark Zero had the lead. They're letting it slip through their fingers, but unless they're going to see what happens in the final seconds with Hyper stopping the plant, it's almost assuredly going to be an SSG
이래서 마이캠을 깨야 된다. 반칙도 깨야 된다라고 말씀드리는 이유가 이래서예요. 이래서 들어오는 걸 모르잖아요. 왜냐면 간식도가 의존하고 있거든요. 대놓고 보면 위험하니까.
These teams have never needed overtime to settle a map before, but it's LAN, it's a major. This is what happens. We're going to see our first overtime between SSG and DZ since the US division started, and we're going to start with DZ on defense.
All right, so solid
6대6.
attack there for
해안선부터 연장까지
SSG.
가는 접전.
The key to that round, I believe, was
오늘 입장은
getting
굉장히
rid of
재밌네요.
the
저번
smokers
미국
by
메이저는
Noir
진짜 좀 솔직히 말하면
and
노잼이었어요.
getting the player on
박제로가 진짜
single
그냥
wall
만나는
in hookah.
팀도만
Now, if
7대2,
you don't know what single
7대3
wall is,
그냥
that's on that wall where there's
진짜
always a single reinforcement in the
잽 한 대
middle. They
맞고
make a
애들이
rotation
쓰러지고
on the
잽
other
한 대 맞고
side
쓰러지는 뭐
and
그런
you just
경기력
murder holes on the
차이였어서
other.
솔직히 말 노잼이었는데
And then you use that to deny the
재미있네요.
push in through billiards.
연장까지 가니까.
There was no one on that position for Dark Zero. Now that might have been a pick early in the round.
대처보다 클레 좋지 않나요? 대처는 거리 범위 안에 있으면은 뚫을 수 있는 벽이든 뚫을 수 없는 벽이든 그냥 싹 다 무시하고 전부 다 제이밍을 하잖아요. 근데 칼리는 이제 뭔가 상호작용 가능한 벽만 가능하잖아요. 근데 칼리도 좋은 오퍼레이터는 맞는데 저는 아직 대처를 완벽하게 100% 대처보다 좋다라고는 안 생각 안 해요. 저는 대처는 공격 오퍼레이터에서 좀 논외로 쳐야 되는 오퍼레이터 중 하나라 생각하기 때문에.
So well executed from space station, but now they have to execute.
칼리도 좋은 건 맞습니다만 대처보다 좋은 거는 저는 동의는 안 할 것 같아요. 아직 대처가 더 좋은 것 같습니다. 칼리.
Will take map number 1.
I'm fascinated to see the way that this one's going to play.
하지만 칼리 여전히 좋아요. 칼리 좋아요. 칼리 좋은 오퍼레이터 같습니다. 버프도 많이 받아서. 칼리는 패치를 하면 할수록 편의성 도 되게 많이 해주고 있고. 칼리 되게
No
좋죠.
foregone conclusions. They're going to have to fight tooth and nail. It does bode well for Dark Zero that they're able to keep coastlines so close. This is a map that they don't play all that often. SSG are very comfortable on this map. They picked it for a
하나는
reason.
펜트하우스 미라, 하나는
But
삼병
SSG
미라.
have shown some struggles. This is not the same SSG team that is being touted by ourselves and the analysts as being the world champions. I mean, they still
유비
do hold that
몬트리올
title.
사무실에
That's
인질도 발생해서
indisputable.
경찰 투입됐다고?
But they're not playing like world champions, and SSG
무슨
fought
수륙층이
disrupt
버터구이
the
먹는 소리야.
squeaker to get in here for the major. Now DZ knows a thing or two about that as well, as they were in the same position for the major in the summer. DZ ended up winning on the very final round of the very final map over the Sonics to make it in, and then guess what? DZ went on to win the whole thing. Well, SSG doesn't look like the same confident team at the moment that DZ did in the previous major, but the one thing for SSG is that they've got off to a good start. In this first overtime round, Hyper has been punished for his play by Courtyard. He's bleeding out, and somebody will need to come get him. Hot and Cold will pop the hatch, and Hyper will drop.
저는 지금
There is Eclipse as
안전합니다.
well,
그래도
so
빨리
you might
분장
be able to get
해결했으면
Hyper back.
좋겠네요라는.
But Eclipse is off the board as SSG have stormed the gates and will now align themselves in the double bars down below.
There's an incredibly light site presence right now for DZ as well. As
진짜네.
Hot and Cold had to rotate to save his teammate. There was a window of opportunity for SSG to hit the site and do some damage, but they didn't seize upon it. So as DZ is allowed to reset, their
진짜네.
chances begin to rise.
지금 메이저 중요한
Hyper still on
사람이
low
죽게
HP though,
생겼는데.
and still a man advantage to extend that for SSG. Skies will lose his shield, which makes controlling the kitchen door exceedingly difficult. He'll do his darndest, but it's unlikely to net any seriously, beneficial results. SSG does have a lot of soft destruction, and they do also have a minute, so there is a chance that they could rotate upstairs, though that is going to shave away a lot of their time. And as we've seen many examples of in this map, the clock is way too important to be risking on a bid for top floor control right now. So SSG might not go for that, especially considering Mint is still positioned here with a mirror window. The direct site take, though, I'm guessing might be met with success. We'll see how SSG chooses to handle this as we hit the last 35 seconds.
Rampy gets a couple pings, but one of them will be behind the mirror window, and Hyper, who wasn't finished off earlier, will have his revenge. He'll stop that black mirror from being opened up as his impact grenade manages to take out the X-Kairos pellets that are in front of it.
일단 대회를
This is really
보긴
do
해야
or
되나?
die for
대회를 봅시다
SSG at this
일단.
point. They're going to run up against a wall and really need to rely on gun skills. The better
그
setup
방송에
right now
펜트
is
쓰는
in the
거는 근데
hands of
좀
the
많이
defender.
나오는 전략이긴 한데
DZ
그런
gets
말
flushed out
그대로
of their position,
말씀하신
and
것처럼
SSG
오랜만에
takes
보긴 하는데
blood,
시간
so
10초
they will
남았죠?
start to clamp down on this bomb site. And right now they are tearing through everything that DZ
그렇지?
has. But once
풀면
again,
죽어요.
time will not necessarily be on their side. Mint takes one down into a 1v1. Canadian will have a repeat. He gets started in with the clutch. He does it again, the same spot. And he has a little bit of fun as he will toy with his food and manage to get the diffuser. A massive triple kill from Mint. And DZ will go on to match point again.
That's exactly what we needed to see from Min. I was talking about his
이거는 버기
performance
너무 머리만
earlier.
내놓고 보고 있긴 했어.
Before that round,
버기
he
먼저
had 3
썼어야
kills,
되는데.
and he had 3 kills for a
그러니까 예거가 에임 둔 곳에 바로
long
버기에
time.
머리가
He was
있었어.
struggling to put any score on the board.
이걸 지네.
And right there, he makes probably the single most impactful play of the entire match. That could win the map alone for his team. So major props to Mint showing
애쉬가
up when it really matters.
엔트리라기보다는
Impact
지금쯤 좀
kills,
응애하지 않을까요?
impact
그냥 방패 깨지
plays.
않을까요?
SSG
해안선
now
같은
on the back
맵에서는
foot,
트위치가 엔트리해야 되는
where
게
they
맞을 것
seem
같은데.
to be in control of that
이런 맵에선
round.
방패 깨는
They
것보다는
lost it,
그 지역을 장악하는 게 더
and
중요해서
now
해안선에서.
they have to win 2 in a row. Starting
오이건
with
같은
their
데서
one
애쉬
and only
꼽으면 그냥
defense
바닥에서 파세타만
here
존나
in
쏘지
this
않을까?
round on OT.
그럴 것 같아.
Absolutely remarkable recovery from Dark Zero, and it once again is based off of the play off the bomb site. You noted that when there was about a minute left that the presence for DZ on Kitchen was very weak. As noted, it was because the Mira had to move off to pick up Hyper, but then Hyper went right back to business as usual, playing as Vigil inside of the main lobby, and he just commanded that position. Not only getting a pick on the main doorway, or as we like to call it, the Lamborghini doorway, but also using the impact in order to buy greater time for Hot and Cold in the position in Kitchen. That saved about 20 seconds or so for DZ. They lose that mirror window earlier, and then the pressure from SSG is too much for whoever's playing in that spot. It necessitates a total fall off of the back bomb site, and allows SSG to waltz in and get the diffuser planted much easier and much quicker. That alone was the difference maker, because by the time that
이
DZ
화면이
engaged in
멈추는 게
their gunfights,
나는
Mint in
뭐라
particular,
해야
who has
되지?
very much woken up in this latter portion of the map, it allowed DZ to just simply wear down the time. SSG's time
이해가
management
가요.
was pretty respectable, to be completely honest with you.
우리는 이제 사정을 알잖아.
For whatever particular reason,
사람
DZ
다친
played
사람이
that really
없어야
well. Mint was
되는데.
able to get good reads, and here we are in the final round.
So apparently the game is frozen for our production, but I can still see it. So
As can I.
So we're gonna keep casting it for what we've got, but we can't show it to you because the feed direct through. Now we can. Yay! All right, we're back. I was gonna say the feed to our production wasn't working, but now it appears to have, started working. Thank you, production.
어떻게?
Excellent job. That was fast. We've got the standard setup here. So no beats skipped here. In case you're wondering what happened, there was actually nothing that actually influenced the gameplay. DZ have been setting up for a direct take onto the site, and they've been trying to look for long angles to get picks. They have managed to do some serious damage to Bosco, but no picks have happened.
당연히 선수들은 일단 뭐 준비를 해왔으니까 하는 게 맞기는
When you set up
한데
for these angles and expect to
이게
get
되게
picks but don't
어렵네.
get any, you can lose rounds on attack this way. Dark Zero need to be very careful.
EDS 3개.
These teams favoring the hookah bomb site quite a lot, as is commonplace. Kitchen also being in healthy rotation. And, well, the way that DZ wants to
굉장히
take
빠르게
this right
풀어들었는데
now is
이거
working
안
out quite
닿아서
well. It's
이거
a missed
방금 쏜
opportunity for
거는
Eclipse to have netted a second kill
그
for DZ, but they do
버기
get the
쏘면서
opening pick on
앉는
the
게
Canadian.
습관이 돼 있어가지고 이게 쏘면서 자연스럽게 앉았는데 앉으면은 카운터가 있었죠. 이거 습관이 살린 겁니다. 이거를. 하지만 이거는 습관이 살리지 못했고요. 아 이거 다크적으로 이거 이기면은 해안선 끝나요.
Squandered an opportunity to be able to cut this one back, and now find themselves knocked off guard. What a great shot from Ramping as he'll drop and have a highway back into the bomb site. As Malusi, that 3-speed, he'll be put to good use. A logic bomb goes out with 40 seconds remaining,
이걸 머리를
and
쏘네.
the gap has narrowed. Thinking Nade will rely on the cover from Bosco as he throws out 2 smokes to try and slow anything down from Cool Vibes, but an upside down
사력
repel from
잡혔어요.
Hot is
영역별
better
때문에.
than Bosco. There goes
1층도
Rampy,
잡혔어요.
and
예고 혼자
Space Station
남았어요.
are about to fall out of this one. Dark Zero shut it down and take map number 1 in a really remarkable series of rounds here in overtime. They're going to be really happy with taking SSG's map, and sets them up with win conditions on Cafe, their map, to seal this matchup.
Absolutely massive dub there for Dark Zero, and one that I think a lot of us didn't see coming. The early stages of that first map did look like they favored SSG, and we were talking about how the attack tends to be the favored side. In the end, though, defense favored, and, well, for some reason, we didn't see a lot of answer back from SSG. They had some really shaky rounds where the attack set up
웨이는
or
그
the
e스포츠
defense set
매니저,
up in odd ways.
레식 e스포츠 매니저는
No matter what,
일단
Dark
우리
Zero
팀과
a
나는
little bit more
안전합니다.
perseverance.
사무실의
Just
친구들과 동료들이
what we saw to
걱정됩니다.
Dark Zero
아, 아직
from
사무실에
major
아직
onward is they had a little bit of
안에 있는
stumbles
사람이
in
있나 봐요.
stage 2, but you know what? DZ are looking like a fine machine, and Hyper in particular hasn't missed a beat. He played exceptionally well. Hot and Cold to me was still the MVP, but I'm going to give the nod in that second half to Mint. I'm excited to see what happens on Cafe. Right now, SSG has a better record against DZ on it, despite it being DZ's map. Wonder what's going to happen there. But before that, a break, and then our analysts to go through map number 1. Stick around, don't go anywhere.
사람이 있다 보니까 강제 지나면 당연히 안 돼. 그 당연히 인질이 있으니까.
Nice shot for me. Perfect.
Oh, he did not do that to Sam.
Jared.
Wait.
Oh my god, he's so good.
They're a number right now.
Ryan.
It's an ace! Ace, let's go, baby! Let's go!
와, 어떡하냐 이거. 지금 대회 볼 때가 아닌 것 같은데? 지금 유비소프트 몬트리올 본사에서 인질극이 발생이 돼서 지금 인질로 잡혀있는 팀원들이 있다고 하네요. 직원들은. 아까 실시간으로 중계해주는 그 영상이 있었던 것 같은데. 지금 대회 하는 대회 하는 게 맞나 모르겠네. 일단 그 선수들이 뭐 연습을 했으니까 진행은 해야 될 것 같긴 한데 캐스터들이 뭐라고 말해야 되냐 이거.
Welcome back in. Great casting by Kix and Intero, but there's one thing I'm gonna have to say because I believe every single person watching this match walked away or typed somewhere out there saying SSG is just gonna steamroll Dark Zero. But the comeback happened and we had one hell of a first map. So analyst, gentlemen, Jacob, Jesse, break down what happened to me.
I think that's the kind of thing you just have to temper expectations on. You see how a map goes in Siege, and then it can easily swing the other way in a perfect 180 before you even realize what's happening. And I was questioning, like the rest of us, were behind the desk.
아직
Are we calling this a
일단 상황
comeback or
파악
not?
된 지가 한 30분 정도
After a 4-2
돼가지고
half, Dark Zero doing
아무것도
that
몰라요.
to SSG,
몇 명이
that's a
있는지,
pretty darn
상대
good
테러가
sign that
몇
Cafe
명인지.
could swing the same way.
Yeah, the
아무것도
lesson here
지금
is
없죠.
never count out Dark Zero, of course, no matter what happens. We've got two of the best teams in the world playing on LAN. I mean, you can never call the game until it's over. This is a fantastic clutch up play. We saw Mint in overtime start to pop off as well. Really, just some impressive gameplay for Dark Zero to bring this one back. The mental fortitude that it takes and that grit and determination to keep your head on. This is the clutch from Mint, yeah. That really, you know, isn't easy, and not a lot of teams have that. So you got to give a ton of credit to Dark Zero to be able to pull this one back, clutch out the win on Coastline.
That is just absolutely insane. We're getting the stats coming together right now, but Jacob, there's something weird that happened on Coastline, especially throughout the first 10 rounds. There has been attempts, but both of these teams, they weren't actually able.
지금
Sorry, here goes stat last
그냥
both of these teams, they
채팅창
weren't
무시하고
actually
지금 채팅창
able
완전 난리
to
났을 것
really
같은데.
capitalize on getting those plants off. We saw an example
그치.
during the replays. I believe it was round 7 or 8 where Bosco picked up the diffuser and tried to get it down after Canadian failed, but it just turned out to be a massacre. What were things that you picked up, Jacob?
Well, that's just the way that Coastline swings. Dark Zero didn't have much of a focus on trying to go for objective play, and their stats clearly show they were going for frags on their attacking half. That's something that we always expect from Coastline anyway, but it definitely made itself more prevalent as we continued. The only problem is, on their attacks, it was a 4-2 half.
말하는
There
사람
were
엄청
only
많지
1-2
않나요?
rounds when they were going fully for eliminations as opposed to getting the diffuser down. So it's a different style of play. It's something that Coastline usually always has in its back pocket anyway, but I think the stats really do help tell the story about how they were trying to play Coast.
Yeah, and looking at
그냥 다 알고 있어. 알고 있는데 지금 내가 볼 때는 채팅창 그 메인이 갖다
I
자른
mean,
거
take a look at this. Sky's going 7 and 9 while we have them up here. That's a bit of a shock to me considering he was our player to watch. You know, he was the guy that we were expecting to pop off. He was their biggest player in their last match, and he had a great round, you know, in round number 11 when they were on that bar defense and he was hiding behind the pillar. He played well sometimes, but I was a little bit disappointed to see him not popping off, particularly early on in that map, but he definitely did bring it back a bit. So not a terrible stat line, but it's something I think worth mentioning.
And you were talking about how teams are playing first half, second half, and we all saw the opening kills from Space Station game. They seem to do pretty well when it came to that.
자이론이
But
개빡쳤네.
something else caught
인질격
your eye with
관련해서
Space Station
농담하는
compared
그
to
드립
the
치는
second half when
사람들
we talk
전부
about
다
their first.
산소 아까우니까 나가 뒤지라
That's to be
그러네.
expected when you see Space Station versus Dark Zero on the ticket. You don't think,
그래서
oh yeah,
이런
this
걸로
will be over
농담하면
quick.
안 되지 당연히.
But
사람
really,
목숨
this was a
걸리는데.
game where we saw roamers like to get aggressive, particularly Faults. You know, with him recently moving over to this roam position, it's been interesting to watch how he plays it compared to how Canadian used to play on this role. And he's been really getting aggressive. He was swinging doorways, swinging windows, running around the map, and that really did slow down the way that Dark Zero had to push. But when it flipped the script and when Space Station went over to attack, we just didn't see that same pace. We didn't see the same ability to swing things. And I think here on LAN, we've got Space Station, you've got great gunners like Faults who can really pop off in a LAN environment. You know, they clearly had that confidence in the first half. It went away a little bit, and when that momentum started to slip, they had a bit of trouble bringing it back. But I did, at least in that first half, like to see that initiative and that aggressive roaming style come up from Faults. I hope we see that again going into map 2.
All right, now before we get into the second map, because the players are, you know, giving them the small break, but Jacob, talk to me. Mint, he wasn't having the best time. I believe his stat line, it was like, what, 3 and 8. He was struggling. But he came back, got the nice clutch, the 2K to end out the round. We saw the teabag happen. Heading into map 2, what are your thoughts about Dark Zero's slow start and them keeping that consistency from the beginning?
Part of it was because they were flipping Coastline script a little bit. If it's an attacker favorite map, we obviously expect it to swing that way. But even on a defensive side for Coastline, Dark Zero were able to capitalize wholeheartedly and bring the comeback back in full swing. Cafe has begun to shift a little bit. It's not so much the defender fortress that we've known it for in previous seasons, even though it still probably might swing that way a little bit. It's definitely not just a place where you can excel or expect to win all of your rounds if you're playing defense first. Slow start starts are common, especially when we're, you know,
어떡하냐,
it's
이거.
been a while for Dark Zero. They still haven't played any game up until now that wasn't an NAL game for a good month. It's been several weeks. But they came out and won on their very first map after having that kind of extended break. And even though Mint wasn't up to par at the beginning of the match, he got there in the end with that clutch play, and even Hyper
보는 게
was
맞나,
performing the
지금?
way that we had seen him perform previously. So I don't really know if there's all that much rust for Dark Zero to shake off right now.
All right, so we did have a community poll, and it was in swap of placement for the last major. Who will continue to heat up going into our first match today? It was between Hyper with the Dark Zero and Rampy with Space Station Gaming. And Jesse, who do you think won that poll?
I'd probably end up going with Rampy, just given the whole situation, but I'm interested to see what the community was thinking.
Well, actually, it's going to be coming up soon. It was extremely close. Hyper had 47%, and it was Rampy that won. So
close.
Yeah, you're definitely close. But final thoughts before we head into Cafe. Jesse, we heard what Jacob said about that map. What are you expecting right now? Is it going to be a 2-0?
Potentially, I think Dark Zero giving themselves a lot of breathing room, winning on Coastline. This did not look like a good map pool an hour ago. Now that DZ have won the first map, it looks a lot better for them. I'd say they would be the favorites coming into map number 2. They did pick it. This is a map that, again, rotates back and forth. These teams play it a lot. It is technically Dark Zero's turn to win it. Space Station won it first, then Dark Zero, then Space Station. It's time for DZ to win it again. We'll see if that holds true, though.
Well, let's see if the seesaw battle continues on. But, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for map number 2. Can Dark Zero pull ahead and knock Space Station down into the losers bracket? We'll find out. Kixon and Taro, take it away.
Thank you so very much, Veli, and thank you very much both Jesse and Jacob, doing a bang-up job as usual. And I like that they contextualize Cafe, because they've set the stage now for what is going to
일부러
be,
지금
I
언급을 다 피하겠네.
assume,
당연히
a long
언급하면 안
and
되긴 한데.
grueling second map. Now, I mean, we can put our hands up and say that we probably didn't expect Coastline to go 14 rounds, and we probably didn't expect Coastline to go to Dark Zero at all, but this is the reality that we're in at the moment. For Space Station, you were coming into Cafe with a better record than Dark Zero. On this map, sure, but DZ obviously looked very motivated, and I don't know if this record and this history around SSG will honestly be enough with that performance that DZ just gave on Coastline.
여기까지 봐야겠다.
I don't know either, Parker. I expect this one to be a fairly close
메인 중계 말고
contest,
이렇게
though.
하는 거는 난
Cafe
아닌 것
is,
같아.
of course, now for SSG their last chance to keep